ladies and gentlemen. My name's Emily Skinner. I'm a digital product manager for Remploy. Remploy is an organisation who support people with disabilities and health conditions to overcome their barriers and equip them with the skills, knowledge and tools that they need to find and keep a job. Our employer partners share their job opportunities with us, as they know that working with us they can tap into an engaged and motivated pool of people who are ready to work. We deliver our services on a national basis through our website, branch network and third-party providers. We were government funded up until last week, when we moved into partnership with Maximus and became a commercial organisation. Just to warn you, my presentation is going to be very different from the rest that you are likely to see today, as I'm not a technical person in any way, shape or form. And what I want to talk to you about is the transformation of a site, a service, and the ongoing changes our business is making to become a digital business. The services and support that we offer can transform the lives of disabled people and the individuals that we work with. And the work we've done as a digital team is about increasing the amount of people that we can support and improving the way that we help them. I want to tell you the story of how we're improving these services and how we're making the transition from a bricks and mortar organisation to one that offers flexible services to all of our users through a combination of in-person and online services, and how Jadu have helped us to do this. As I said, I am the least technical person you'll probably hear from today, and that will be demonstrated when you see the slightly dubious presentation that I've got to share with you. The images looked perfect on my small screen when I created it. They may look slightly squished or out of shape on the large screen, for which I do apologise. One thing I will say, as a non-technical person, I knew we were in very, very safe hands with Jadu, because they managed to take what is a very technical language and a very technical process and put it in words that I understood and could not only understand but share with other people. So thank you to all of the Jadu team for making this whole process accessible to me, if no one else. Now, let's get on with our story. The cast in my story are Remploy, a government-funded organisation at the time, who ran a website that was less of a sparkling example of how to engage with your customers and keep them coming back, and more like a dusty library, full of information that was interesting but not always particularly appealing. We have a digital team, so a group of individuals with a tremendous amount of experience in working to support people with health conditions and disabilities to find and sustain employment, but limited technical experience when it comes to web development. Then we have our princess, passionately user-focused, but missing the unfeasibly good hair, beautiful singing voice and team of woodland creatures that you would generally expect from someone in her position. Then we have Jadu, our knights on white horses that supported our fledgling digital team to rebuild and redesign our site, combining a digital site with a service that works for all of our customers. As with many large organisations, there have always been a huge number of stakeholders that have wanted to have their say about what appears on our website, which often leads to sites that are cluttered with too much information and too few clear calls to action. This image here is taken from our website in 2010, which is when we formed our innovation and design team, and a large part of the progress that we made on our digital footprint began in 2010 with the formation of that team. The innovation and design team were responsible for looking at how we deliver our services and finding ways of making what we do more accessible, better, more appealing and easier for our customers to engage with. We quickly established as a digital team that a key way of doing all of this was to launch a digital service. This service could help our branch candidates by giving them choice in how they access our services, and increase our footprint by opening up the opportunity for anyone that sits outside of our branch network to engage with us. So we launched a new site called iremploy.co.uk, which was hosted completely separately from our corporate site. And it's worth noting that the reasons that we did for that was it was very much a fledgling service, and we didn't want it to cause confusion on a corporate site, so we launched it completely separately. This was a huge step in moving our services forward, and I will say that we did have a bumpy path, but the work we did proved that the concept itself was a sound one, and that there was a hunger from our customers to start engaging with us in a different way. So we carried on working, testing out ideas, generating feedback, and building both the product and service as we went. Gradually, what we were doing gathered steam, and our user numbers grew, as did the amount of attention that we were getting from the rest of our business. And the decision was taken last year for the marketing and the digital team to come together to combine our sites and take a leap towards operating as a digital business rather than a business that just does digital. As government has the magic words of digital first and digital by default, welfare to work has choice and control. And that is exactly what we wanted our customers to have. The choice of how to engage with our services, in branch, on a PC, on a tablet or a phone, or a mixture of all of these. We wanted all of our users to be able to engage with us in the way that suited them best. And we wanted them to be able to access all of the services they needed, whether that was in person or being able to do it independently from home. And more importantly, we wanted to make the services engaging so they kept coming back for more, providing the right information for them at the right stage in their journey. However, the key to this wonderland was building our new site on a platform that was up to this task, which neither of our websites at the time were. At this point, it should be acknowledged that both our corporate and our Remploy sites were outdated and clunky, built on platforms that were in no way designed for the new digital world. Any content changes had to go through the developers, meaning that our desired approach of being able to keep our content fresh, be able to keep things moving according to the needs of our customers, could well become a very expensive and a very time-intensive task. As an interim measure, we combined both of the sites, providing information for all of our customer groups, as well as a service for everyone that wanted support from Remploy to find and keep a job. In this, we have made a massive step forward, but we still haven't reached where we wanted to be. Who should come to the rescue but Jadu, our knights in shining armour on their white horses, and they lured us in with the promise of with the promise of a site that could be responsive, that could be kept fresh with a series of standard and custom built widgets, and that amending the site and the content that we needed would be as quick and easy as amending a Word document. We were quick to recognise Jadu as one of the heroes of our story, as I said, our knight in shining armour, who were there to guide us through the challenging and complex journey that we anticipated lay ahead. Now, at this point, we should check in with the princess of our story. And while this is all very tongue-in-cheek, and yes, I am the princess, there was a huge team of people and a huge team of a huge amount of effort that went into the development. But I'm using the princess as a way of just illustrating a particular point. And I make that point because one of my colleagues is in the room, and I don't want it to look like I'm claiming all the credit for the work. Neil, you were very important too. So to start with, our princess wasn't a princess at all, just someone who'd worked for Remploy for a number of years and had been involved with our Remploy from the very start. Her knowledge of how people engage with our site grew as she observed their behaviour, and she woke up one morning to find that magically she had become a digital product manager for iRemploy, and therefore the champion of all its users. Her role during the redevelopment was to ensure that iRemploy customers were considered in all stages of the design process. Her constant chirping about what her users needed, both the customers accessing the service and the staff members delivering the service, led her to be called the princess, as at times it seemed like in her world everything was about her and her users. However, the world she inhabited was an important one and became a large part of the redevelopment process, as it added complexity to not only the transition of the content to a new site, but also the creation of a bespoke set of tools to deliver all the services that we needed to engage with our customers. There may be people in the room that recognise some of these sites. So we began the process of redesigning the website, a process that, to be honest, felt complex, alien and intimidating. We worked very closely with our team from Jadu so they could understand what we wanted to achieve with our site, the way we wanted it to look, the way we wanted it to function, how we wanted it to feel for our users, and things started to become clearer. We wanted to start with a really strong base, so we shared with Jadu our inspiration sites, some of which were Manchester City Council, the Messiah site, the Highland site, the Edinburgh site. We had a range of sites that Jadu showed us to give us an example of the modern feel that we were looking for and some of the modern design that might help us in our decision-making process. And we also went to them with sites that we commonly used and sites that we felt appealing, that gave us a really strong foundation block to help us decide what the designs could look like potentially moving forward. Now, our candidate and user customer group consist of individuals with a wide range of disabilities, and those disabilities could well impact on their ability to access the site. So making the layout simple and easy to navigate was absolutely vital from the very, very beginning. So we gave Jadu our inspiration sites, we talked through our colour palette, and they were able to pull together some of the designs that met our brief. Now, we took the designs that Jadu gave us and we used them in a number of ways. We used them to host an interactive day at one of our organisation expos, and what we wanted to do was encourage our staff to vote for their favourites, give feedback about what they liked and what they didn't like, and really get involved with the process. We also wanted to do some work about understanding what we should keep on the site and what information could potentially be deemed to be unnecessary, and bringing our staff on board to do this was a really important part of being able to transform how we offered our services. And this was really the first stage, getting their input and keeping them involved with the journey that we were undertaking. As I said, with any large organisation, there's an awful lot of people who want to have a say in how you run and how you present your site, and it can be very, very difficult to manage all those voices. But by starting a formal engagement process and being able to demonstrate how you're working with your staff at any given point means you have a strong basis to make decisions, and also you can show people the work you've been doing to get their input. When you're very close to a site, and you see the relevance of every piece of information that's kept on each page, it can be very, very difficult to make an objective decision about deciding what you keep and what you lose throughout any redesign and redevelopment journey. And we found, certainly as a team, that was quite challenging, because we were very invested as the content as we were generally people that already owned those particular areas of the sites. Now, Jadu supported us with moving forward with this activity by setting up content games at our expo to get input from our staff, and we later went on to run these exercises with a group of users as well. It was really no surprise that some of the information that we all firmly believed should be on the first page of the site and on subsequent pages of the site, no one else really cared about, including some of the things that we felt were a real cornerstone of what we were offering, even down to the accessibility options being very visible on the top right-hand side of the page for both our staff and our user groups that we ran in our branches. Neither of them wanted the accessibility options on the first page at all, because they felt it detracted from what they actually wanted to use the site for. To continue to gather further information and engage with our users, we also set up areas on our forum where our existing site users could share their opinions and volunteer to be part of the consultation process. We also ran, as I said, a consultation day in one of our branches where we asked our branch team to bring together groups of people that had a really wide range of experience with using the internet, and also a wide range of disabilities and age groups and ethnicities as well. We talked to them and asked them a lot of questions about what they felt should be on the site, how they use the internet, what things they enjoy engaging with already. And then we asked for their input on what they thought would be useful in terms of tools and information that would help them find a job. And one of the important lessons that I learned during this process is the same as everybody lies, which is just because you want people to have an opinion, it doesn't necessarily mean that they will do. So we really wanted to gather information from all of our different user groups. We really wanted them to feel that they'd had an input in how we were developing our services, but what they were looking for from us as experts was to make the decisions for them. They knew what they wanted to get out of using the site, but they didn't have an invested interest about how they did it, and they relied on us to be able to say, well, this will help you, and if we could give them that information, then they were happy with it. The art of developing a site is around engagement, but it is also around your gut instinct. It's also around the knowledge that you have. Consultation is vital for a site that truly reflects the needs of its users. But as a product owner, you have to trust your instinct. And more importantly, you have to trust your analytics. So looking at your analytics, you can understand the behaviour of the people that are visiting your site, and you can use that information to make those objective decisions that will help you improve your site as you move forward. And understanding your users' behaviour is a really important part of that. After the consultation work was complete, we came back together with Jadu, who were able to tweak the initial designs according to the feedback we collected and all the data from our content games. And we were left with 4 main designs, and I've just shown you an example of one of them, which we've moved forward to use on the actual site. What we did with those designs is we published them on a voting website, and we sent out links to our existing site users, all of our staff, all of our senior management team. We published it on all of our social media channels, and we got over 300 people that voted on the particular layout and design that they preferred, and that factored very largely in the decisions that we made around the design we chose. So as a team, we knew what we wanted and what direction we wanted to go in, and then we ensured that we looked through all of the feedback that other people gave us before we made a final decision. Being the organisation we are, it's really important that our site is accessible and as clear as possible for our users, so they can find the information they need and engage with us in the way that best suits their needs. We had an awful lot of discussions around accessibility, about WCAG, about A ratings, about Clear Assure awards, and how we could best present a resource that was as useful as possible for as many people as possible. Now, as I said, our customers cover a wide range of abilities and requirements, whether they are employer partners that want to engage with us in bids or funders or commissioners, or our user and candidate base. And we felt very strongly that the design and content should be accessible, yet balanced enough to reflect a really diverse range of customers. We felt the key to achieving this wasn't always through the use of adaptive technology, as our researcher told us that the people that needed this assistive technology in the main already had things in place, but to make the flow of information as logical and as easy to read as possible. To meet this objective, we did a number of things, including grouping information together but breaking it down into small bite-sized chunks, allowing the user to read a piece of information or to be able to follow a logical series of information to gain a much bigger picture. We also aimed for each page to have as low a reading age as possible, and we used the Gunning Fog Index to help inform that, to make sure that when we were putting together sentence structure we were using plain English, because while we have people with disabilities and health conditions using the site, and it's very important to make sure that the content is aimed at them and accessible by them. Who in this room doesn't want to read text that is easy to read and that isn't complex and doesn't use needlessly complex words? As you can tell from my presentation, I wasn't responsible for this content. I use a lot of words. I use 10 where one would suffice. But it was really important to us that we make sure that the information we presented was concise, was clear, because that's what would make it accessible to as many people as possible. Now, this approach was taken throughout the entire site, again acknowledging that you don't need a disability or health condition to want to access information as easily as possible. Now, to help in terms of making that information clear, we asked Jadu to design us a bespoke icon set, and anyone that's just been in the eye tracking group with Rachel, we've had a bit of discussion about iconography. And the way we've used iconography on our site, as you'll see here, it's not to replace any of the text, but it's to be used in conjunction with the text. So when you visit a particular area, there's a particular icon that supports that information that will hopefully give an understanding of what that information could be about. But not only are we using it on our site, we've taken the lead from Manchester in terms of using that in our print media as well. So when you go into our branches, you will start to see the same iconography in our branch. So it makes that transition from in-person to online support much, much easier and much more consistent. So while our site has been designed to industry standard accessibility levels, some of the content is equally important in terms of making the site accessible and being able to make sure that your accessibility policy isn't just driven by the technical things that sit behind a site, but is driven by the content and the design and making it easy to engage with rather than relying on specific tools to help people move through the site. So one of the big questions we asked ourselves was how could we make the information on the site accessible to one of our more complex disability groups when it comes to support in finding employment, which is those with learning disabilities. For anyone that doesn't have any kind of familiarity with learning impairments, there's two main groups, which is learning difficulty, which would cover conditions like dyslexia or dyscalculia, and learning disability, which tends to be the more complex and severe conditions that have a more of an impact on your ability to learn and process information. And those kind of conditions could be things like Down syndrome or other neurological conditions that impact on learning. Now, what we wanted to do was make sure that by presenting a lot of information in text and picture format that we weren't excluding people with a learning disability from accessing the information on the site. And we could have chosen to have gone down an easy read route, which is very much picture driven rather than text driven. But what that would have done is it would have given us very large, very image driven pages that would have been good for one user group but would have alienated most of our other customers and actually made information harder for other people to engage with, which was something we were definitely very, very keen to avoid. The understanding we have of our customers and their behaviour helped us to make decisions around this kind of dilemma, because we knew that only 1% of our site users were categorised or had categorised themselves as having a learning disability, and we also knew that that small percentage of people who were engaging with our service often engage with our service with advocates by their side. So it might be a parent, a carer, a support worker, a member of Remploy staff. So in the main, people from that group wouldn't be sitting in front of a computer completely independently accessing the information, but they would be doing it in support with other people. And the people that were supporting them would be making sure that they were understanding the information as it was presented to them. However, regardless of the low number of users from this group, we still wanted to provide additional support for them to access the site as independently as possible, because it's all about giving each individual ownership of their own journey. So we integrated a tool called Point to provide pictorial representations. And what you'll see when Point is switched on, you hover your mouse over a word, it highlights the word yellow and it brings up a picture to help the individual understand what that word means. And it can either be used on an individual word-by-word basis if you don't understand a particular word or a particular term, or you can use it sequentially to understand entire sentences or paragraphs of text as well. We also use Browse Aloud, which is a tool that's predominantly designed for people with visual impairments. So you can highlight areas of text and you can press play and Browse Aloud will read that text for you. It's extremely useful for people with visual impairments, but it also really works for people that don't process text well by reading it. So if you're someone, say for example with dyslexia, you might choose to use Browse Aloud because that way the information is being read to you rather than reading it off a page. Another decision that we took, and there are videos and examples interspersed through our pages on our website, is to provide videos that support that content. And sometimes it could be a video that is a direct replica of the text that's on the page, and sometimes it's a video that covers supporting information. And again, it's just providing as many different ways as possible for people to access information. And what we feel is while we've designed the site and the site's been delivered to kind of industry standard levels for accessibility, it's actually the other work we've done through design, content, multimedia that supports how people engage with us and how people access the information, and takes it from being a site that the majority of people can access to a site that most people can access. Now this takes us to a point where we have our designs in place, but much of the complex work to create the structure and tools that underpin the services was still to be done. At this point we relied on Jadu's expertise, and following a number of workshops they went away to research the solutions to the challenges of providing our online service. These workshops were where the role of our web princess became really important, as at every point she was responsible for representing the needs of our most complex customer group, and often to be heard saying yes but and what about when discussing any of the tools the users would engage with. What started out as a bit of a running joke is actually a really important thing to factor into any web redevelopment, as if you can plan for the needs of the most complex users with the most complex journeys, by comparison it makes pulling the rest of the site together more straightforward because you've already done the more complex work of pinning things together. So a lot of work and sessions with Jadu later, we come to the close of our story. Jadu, our knight on a white horse, has successfully guided us through the thorny maze of website redevelopment. Our digital team and Princess continue to ensure the needs of our users were considered and fully met, and we have successfully launched our new website to a business who feel that they were a key part of our journey. What have we learned? That user engagement and consultation is key to creating a site that meets the needs of as many people as possible, that knowing your customers and how they engage with your site will help you to make decisions around how you redevelop it, and that having a digital team and a web princess that put your users' needs first will help you start with the more complex and fit everything else in from there.